Hello everyone, this is Monster Blubber, coming at you with another Kindred Fates video. This video I want to do something a little bit different. I'm going to be going for mostly unscripted improv today, with just having my notes next to me as some talking points, as I've seen many of you request this type of video. So please let me know how you like it, and be sure to comment if you want to see more of it, or if you think I should go back to the more standard script formula. But today, we're going to be talking about status effects like Burn and Poison, and how we can make them more fun, not only to use, but to play against. This video is not going to be aimed at the balance of these effects. I'm not trying to say if they're overpowered or underpowered, just that myself and every player I've spoken with so far says that they could be a little bit more fun, because as it stands, they're not particularly fun to be used against, or even a few people have said they're not even fun to use. So, let's talk about why are statuses not fun right now. The first point is, they leave you feeling powerless if you get hit by them if your kinfolk doesn't have a certain item. That item being Aloe for Burn, Antidote for Poison. Just imagine, I'll set a scene for you. Or the video playing in the background will likely be setting a scene for you as well. You're playing, you're doing good, you have a good feeling about what's going on with the match. Maybe you're not necessarily guaranteed to win, but you feel like you're putting up in a really good fight. And then all of a sudden these status effects come out. They hit your kinfolk, you don't have the right item to counter them on, and then you're left feeling sad and defeated, like, well, what am I going to do now? This kinfolk is basically dead. Burn's going to stagger me and make me not be able to do moves. Poison is going to deal huge damage, and I don't have any way to heal it, and it really, really demoralizing, and kind of sucks the fun out of the game whenever you get hit by this, especially if it's because of like a lag spike, or because you were like really low on stamina after dodging a different attack or something like that, where you genuinely couldn't get out of it. It makes it even more bitter pill to swallow there. This also segues into my next point I want to make, is they feel unfair when your opponent just runs away from you. It's very easy, especially on maps like Ruins and to a lesser extent Riverside, to hit someone with something, especially like Poison, which does very good damage, and then just teleport away with Skullkin, and then you could switch to something like Shovelet, throw down Quicksand, spam Dig, and your opponent will essentially never catch up with you, and they'll just whittle away and die until you force them to change to another kinfolk. Then you repeat the process, and if they happen to have an Aloe or a Chrysantidote on that particular kinfolk they switch to, you can switch to your other kinfolk, being Skullkin and Ember, which are both very meta kinfolks right now, probably because of the recent status effects. And you can go in there, throw it down on them, and then repeat the process, and then run from them. Thankfully, not many people use this strategy, but the few times it has happened, I've even used it myself before a couple of times, to just see how it feels as the player playing it, and the people I used it against and all agreed that it's very unfun to play against. When I've had it used against me, I had absolutely no fun at all. One of my only times I've had like one match in this entire game of like 62 hours to play that I got genuinely upset, and that was when somebody did this. And even playing it and doing it myself, it is like no fun at all. It just sucks the fun out of the game for both sides there. So that's a tactic that is not very good for either side. But this also wraps around well into another point. They hard counter already weak kinfolk like Mechid. Mechid is very, very immobile. He has good defense and really great damage. His damage is in a wonderful spot right now. He has one ability that lets him move around quickly, which is Rush. But if you catch him in one of his really long animation times with a Caustic Cloud or a Scorch, Mechid is essentially dead. There's like almost nothing he can do, especially after you get that status on him. He already has trouble from being kited. You don't even have to teleport away and run with Skullkin. Like I said, you can literally play any kinfolk with a ranged attack, put Burn or Poison on Mechid, then just leisurely run backwards while shooting basic ranged attacks at him until die before he gets a chance to do anything really good against you, and there's nothing more annoying than having that happen when you're playing Mechid. Slifer has a little bit of easier time with this though, because of his range mobility and whatnot, but this does make me worry that water types and future mecha types will be almost completely and utterly invalidated by this type of gameplay if something isn't done to fix it yet. Because it's horrible to just be kited around while poisoned or burned, and especially when you're a weak kinfolk like Mechid that already struggles with range, it can make it even more worse. But the first idea, how I had to change this and make it more fun, would be an idea I've seen thrown around by both players and devs. Plants that spawn around the map and drop status cure items. The points to why this could be good is these plants could spawn infrequently, maybe after the first minute of the match, and then they grow, and then every 30 seconds they could replenish. This would put them roughly on par with Rest, which is the ability that cures status effects, but without the health. So it's not like they're a replacement for Rest or anything, it's just something that other kinfolk can do and get rid of these items. Now, they could also make good points of map control, adding more depth to the game. It would no longer be safe to poison your enemy and run away, because that they could run, oh, if you just start kiting them and teleport to the other side of the map, well, as long as there's an even spread of these different plants scattered around the map, you could run over there and grab an aloe or grab a chrysanthemum while your opponent is on the other side of the map trying to kite you away. And that would make it a lot more fun for the person who's getting kited and give them a good counter to it, because that not every kinfolk can have an aloe or chrysanthemum. In fact, you can only have aloe or chrysanthemum, and then you can only have one copy of each of those. So even if you make the argument that both of those abilities could just be used to counter these poisons, you still have your other kinfolk that would have literally no recourse against it. Now, another thing that can make this more tactical and in-depth is if you poison someone and you know they're going to be going for this, then you can try to lock those plants down. Especially if you put those plants on opposite sides of the maps of one another, you could lock it down by throwing like Scorch on it, or even Caustic Cloud again to maybe poison them while they're trying to gather it. Which means my next point is you can have gathering times, such as the ability to cure burn. You have to go and take off an aloe leaf and eat it with like a 3-second timer, something very similar to Rest. That way that if someone's trying to kite you around the map, you would have plenty of time to grab it before they get back. But if they're actually standing and fighting you, then the status effects can take full effect, and they have to fight you, because if they don't, you'll just grab it. And with that being said, you could maybe make it so you're actually able to take cover behind these so they can't snipe you from the other side of the map. That you can go behind this giant aloe bush or something and start harvesting it, and they can't hit you with like Lumala's not Angelic Ray, but Righteous Light or Ember's basic attack or anything like that. They would actually have to physically move over there, go around the corner, and stop you, similar to how they would have to stop a Rest. So they couldn't just run away from you. The next idea I want to bring up was a move that could cure status effects. For example, we already have Rest, but Rest is on a very long cooldown, only available to Shovelet, and only cures Shovelet. But it proves that the devs are open to the idea of moves that cure status effects, which is a really important thing, because we want to make the game fun for ourselves, but also let the devs keep their vision of how they want the combat to play. I've come up with an idea for buffing Lumala's Angelic Ray to make it cure status effects in addition to healing, because I think that since these other effects do damage in addition to healing, like you have Caustic Cloud and Scorch do not do insignificant damage, especially if you catch someone in animation lock, like a Mechid using his basic attack, or getting up from the end lag from a rush, or even a Shovelet using his basic attack. You can do some serious damage to them in addition to poisoning or burning them. In fact, it's almost enough to kill somebody if you throw multiple Scorches on them at the same time. So I think it would be a very balanced move to give Angelic Ray the ability to cure status debuffs, maybe after 3 ticks on it, just like you have to get 3 ticks to gain them. That way someone could try to force you off of it before you get it healed, so it's not completely and utterly nullifying status effects. And I don't think this would be too unbalanced, because this would make it so people would start running more counters to Lumala because they would expect this. Maybe start using status effects less, which would then in turn make people use Lumala less. Then they would switch around of like, oh, people using Lumala less, so I want to use status effects again, and then the loop would continue, making it an ever-changing meta, and essentially settling on just use whatever you like, because you never know what your opponent's going to use, which is not how it works right now, because you can almost guarantee your opponent will be using Ember and Skulkin plus Shovelet, and then the fourth one is either going to be Slifer or Lumala. But this could make Mechid much more valuable, and after Kadoki gets buffed, make it much more viable, and as more kinfolks are added in that do not use status effects, it would really shake the meta up and make it a lot more interesting, in my opinion. If you don't like the idea of buffing Angelic Ray, I'm sure there's plenty of people who would take a brand new light move completely by itself that cures you and your team of status effects. You could even put it on a big cooldown, like 30 seconds like Rest, and make it so that it cures status effects for you and all of your team. I would recommend not having this have a buff up time similar to Rest, because that it would only be curing status effects, and Rest heals you for 50% of your health. So maybe just have it like the animation length of basically a homing shot or something like that, and then it would cure all of your status effects, and then on a 30-second cooldown, so the enemy would actually have time to reapply them, and make it so it's not just a complete nullification of status effects, or maybe a little longer timer. Obviously this requires testing, and I'm just kind of spitballing general ideas here. And the final subject I came up with was to just put a time limit on statuses. I know this has been brought up multiple times, and I'm pretty sure that the devs aren't particularly interested in this idea, but because it is one that has been said so many times, I thought I might as well include it, and maybe they'll hear me out on it. This would help with enemies running away, like the plants, like I was mentioning with the plants would, because if enemies run away, you can eventually not be status damaged anymore. It wouldn't be the best thing, because you would still have to chase them for a little while, but it would make it a lot better than it is now. This would also make it so the timer only works on the kinfolks out, so you do have to actually eat the damage and other negative effects, so you can't just say, oh man, I'm just going to switch to my Lubala while I wait for my Shovelet to recover, or something like that. And the effects would be less harsh on a kinfolk that did not have the right item and still got hit by this, because right now it spells almost certain doom for said kinfolk, especially if the opponent tries to kite them if they do not have the item to counter the status effect that was put on them. Overall, probably my least favorite of the ideas. I think there's a lot more creative and fun and strategic things we could do, but the biggest benefit of this one is I'm pretty sure out of all the ideas I've submitted so far, this is the simplest and easiest to execute, and could be a really good band-aid on the status effect problem until the devs have time to implement a more intricate and fun solution. But that about covers it for the ideas I had for status effects today. Let me know if you have any ideas of your own in the comments below, and please let me know how you feel about this more freeform style of video. Until next time, this has been OneStampBloba signing off. Goodbye. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and God bless.